And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
He's like, you guys didn't get in?
That's Spider-Man's best friend you're talking about, right?
Yeah, you're right. Let me put some respect on his name.
Yeah, that's right.
What did he say?
About it in his book.
He said, you know what I want. Word. You could definitely read it about it in his book. It's a great read. New York Times bestseller. Calling it now. Speaking of Spider-Man, and then we can get into it and we can keep all this. I heard from an insider that's allegedly got shit right a lot that Tom Holland has a cameo in Venom.
Was it Daniel RPK? Because I don't trust anything that comes out of that guy's mouth.
No, I don't think so. So I didn't read what the insider said. I read an article reporting on said insider, and it's allegedly somebody who's gotten a lot of shit right. Like one of those Marvel guys who has been like, oh, script leaks have said XYZ, and it actually ended up being what had happened.
Yeah.
So
Can I read you my favorite latest script leak?
Please do.
Okay. Sabine Wren says, and my spray pan cans. And Zeb says, and my paws. And Baby Yoda, who can talk now, says, and my Marlboro Reds. And Ezra Bridger says, and my can-do attitude. And Cal Kestis says, I'm Cal Kestis.
There you go. Not my Marlboro Reds. That's fucking hilarious. Love that.
When Grogu starts speaking, you should be like, yeah, I can use the Force.
Yo, that's gonna be weird. Like if we ever do get to a point in the timeline, because you know his race ages slow as fuck, like to where he's verbal, I'm gonna be like, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah, I'm excited for when you and I are probably 60 years old and they decide to tell a story that's like way after the Skywalker Saga.
Grogu's story
still around. And, well, I think it's someone's gonna have to seek out like an old master or an old Mandalorian, depending on how his story goes.
Will he be on Jakku?
Maybe. Everyone likes to go to Jakku. I don't know why everyone wants to go back there, but
no idea.
It'd be pretty funny if he got to say, Grogu, you see Grogu.
Word.
And Empire Strikes Back. It'd be a good callback.
That would be. That was. Speaking of great callbacks, synergy.
There's a lot here in what we're going to cover today.
We're a force dyad.
You were listening to Ain't Are You Okay?
A Star Wars podcast.
A Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Mikey the Illest. Mikey the Human Holocron. Mikey Darth Plagueis the re-educated.
The wise himself.
And I'm joined with my esteemed co-host, Matthew Porter, a.k.a. Matty Ice, the Rogue One, the Rogue Only. Hit him with your other nicknames, buddy.
It's funny because I was actually like wearing my house robe, and I was just going to record in that. It was going to be the return of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but then I got really hot, so I took it off. And I'm back to being your main from the Grey Hoodie Gang, a.k.a. Smack Talker Skywalker, a.k.a. Mace Windude, a.k.a. C3P, bro. And I'm checked in, bro. I'm very checked.
You're always checked in, and you're ready to punch it, as we usually say here.
Fresh off my 9 to 5, about to hit hyperdrive. Punch it, Chewie.
You love to hear it.
Punch it, Yessie.
We are going to drop a spoiler warning here for LEGO Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy.
So good.
Just in case, you haven't watched it. I mean, I would assume you watch it. We're covering the first 2 episodes today, but we're also going to hyper dive right into this thing. And LEGO Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, after finding an ancient relic that can rewrite reality at will, a young boy named Sig Griebling seeks out the solution to the changes with the help of an elusive Jedi, long forgotten. Matt, I
JB.
don't know how JB. I don't know how much of our fake conversation that's always a real conversation, but we act like it's a fake conversation, is going to be in this episode. But we were talking about Gatton Matarazano from Stranger Things and Tony Ravioli is out.
Flash.
Flash, our favorite bully from the MCU, who is really Spider-Man's best friend, if you ask us.
And Agent Venom.
in another universe. I think they did a fantastic job. I'm excited to talk about episodes 1 and 2. I put together a list of questions here that we're going to go through and kind of answer. I think it'll help us hit the highlights of those episodes and really kind of just get our feelings on everything. And then I also have some Easter eggs from the episodes 1 and 2 of Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy.
This whole thing was an Easter egg. Yeah.
It certainly felt that way, but there are some interesting tidbits that I was able to pull out. Stuff you and the listeners might not know. So let me hit you with the first question.
Alrighty.
So this episode, like episode 1, really set the scene in terms of stakes that like Sig would be losing by the galaxy being reconstructed. What elements do you think made this fit seamlessly into the Star Wars universe?
I was waiting, and in my defense, as of this recording, by the time you'll listen to it, this will be a moot statement. But as of this recording, I haven't watched like the last 15 minutes of the 4th episode. But I've been waiting for someone to like make a reference to like, oh, like when he's been talking about like, oh, he's from like an alternative galaxy. I was just hoping him for to be like, oh, a galaxy far, far away. I was like waiting for that reference. But it's weird because like on one hand I'm multiversed to death because of Marvel, but with it being Lego Star Wars, it just makes sense. Like, like with the fuck was the name of the glowy block? I literally just lost it. Like
corner piece.
The cornerstone, the corner piece, and everything. Just like it just fits. And I love. Oh shit! I might be jumping ahead to episode 3, so I won't say like what the significance of that block is. But it's like Star Wars. We have to accept or suspend disbelief for like so much of Star Wars, and I think that's why we love Star Wars. It's like escapism at its best. So putting us in a story where like the galaxy changes and like everything like flip flops, I love it because we've said this many times. As much as we all loved the Skywalker Saga, we did get Skywalker Saga fatigue. So to see this show take things that are so burned into our brains and retinas from dealing with this franchise for our whole lives, seeing them like literally and figuratively like flip it was like super refreshing, but like also extremely cathartic because it's like it made me love certain parts of the Skywalker Saga again because it was like it has funny callbacks that are worked in a different way because it's like the opposite story. So it's like I enjoyed it a lot. It's dope. I'm here for it. Whoever thought of this, like I'm sure we can look up the credits in the course of this episode. By the time we do the wrap up finale for parts 2 and 3, we'll give the creators of this show their just dues. But like whoever's idea this was deserves a raise.
Yeah, it was a really fun time. I really liked how they spent so much time with Sig and Dev in the first episode so that you kind of like could feel the relationships of things that like it was like, yeah, you and I know what happened in the story, but it's like, why should I care about how Sig and Dev, like what's their relationship to the story? You know what I mean? And so we get like a little bit of their relationship at the beginning before we kind of jump into the whole thing being reconstructed. But like you said, there are so many like jabs and callbacks and jokes made at like the expense of almost the viewer in a sense, but it gets giving it a whole new meaning because we're now being forced to like it's almost like all these jokes that you had shoved down your throat for the last like 30 years as a major Star Wars fan, like because that's how old we are getting a new context for us to enjoy them in, and it's like
1,000%
kind of fun to make those connections and all those new things. But yeah, I definitely really appreciate it. I also think that there's something in the voice acting that feels, and this is a testament to everyone involved, not just Gatton and Tony, but they really felt like authentically like brothers. And I did watch an interview. They didn't even record it in the same room, so it's like the chemistry they were able to pull off without actually meeting and talking to each other was pretty impressive.
That is one thing about breaking the fourth wall that does make me sad. That typically movies and TV shows that require voice acting, they're usually not together. I actually just saw random aside, but potent in this or relative to this conversation. So Transformers 1, which is either out and or coming out by the time you listen to this episode, Scarlett Johansson had said that during the premiere, that was the first time that she's ever been in the presence of her co-stars. Obviously, her and Chris Hemsworth know each other from
Key and Michael Key, and
that was in Brian Tyree. Isn't he in that too? I forget. Yeah, Paperboy, exactly. Yeah, but Brian James Tyree is one. It's a combination of those three names, I believe. But she was saying that that was the first time that they all have shared a space together for this project, because they did everything remotely or like separately. This
is definitely a post-COVID thing too, as well, because I know that the Clone Wars cast recorded in the same room.
Or I know the new Ninja Turtles one, the 3D one, they recorded together. The one with Ice Cube.
Oh, that's great. Well, I was glad because I saw some things about them, having to build that brotherly bond to make it feel more authentic and lean into that. If anyone who's in charge of anything listens to this, like, I want to see more of that.
We can tell. I feel like it is like studios kind of like not giving the smart fans their credit for being so smart, because it's like you can tell like when someone just like submitted in their lines and it's like put together in post. Like there is like a certain camaraderie that you do get with hearing it. And again, they do a beautiful job, because I don't know if Gaten and Tony recorded their things together or whatnot, but like you said, like how they played it felt very familiar. You felt that big brother little brother dynamic and stuff. But yeah, like if we can get back to safely having voice recordings done in the company of the actors that you're acting with, I feel like it does make a difference.
Yeah. And then if you could keep it to episodes 1 and 2, but what were some of the highlights from these two episodes that you really enjoyed?
So I don't say the wrong thing. What was the end of 2? Like, how did 2 end? Because I feel like I might be blending 2 and 3.
All the Sith Lords showed up when they leave the cantina.
Oh, okay. So they had already met Luke in 2.
Correct. Yep.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, because 3 ends with never mind. All right, we're good. I love they started off pulling at my you got me invested with them being scruffy looking nerf herders. Yeah. I loved that, bro. Like, he was like, who you calling a scruffy looking? He's like, bro, we're literally scruffy looking nerf herders. And the first thing I wanted to ask, because you're basically kind of like our lost the word. It's fine.
The human holocron? Yeah.
You are the human holocron. You're our Star Wars encyclopedia. Have Nerfs been seen in like a Star Wars property before? Like what they actually looked like prior to this?
So I want to say like not on screen, but that discounts the video games they've popped up in. This is the first like animation or like otherwise that they've popped up. So yeah, that was one of the Easter eggs. This is the first time we've seen Nerfs in like a Star Wars show or movie. Which is pretty crazy, all things considered. But it was still fun to see.
Yeah, but them being scruffy looking nerf herders like was awesome. I loved every second of that.
Yeah. No, I was super. It was such a good way to like, make it bleed into, and it was also like, it's weird because it's a callback to a line that we know and love, but it's something we've never seen before, so it's expanding on the things that we love. Right before we get launched into a completely different galaxy. Anything else you wanted to cover off on before we dive into the next question I have for you here?
Nope, I'm ready.
All right. So obviously a lot of things.
Oh shit! One thing.
Changed.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I like how the Skywalker Saga is like a bedtime story for them in this universe as well. I thought that was really awesome as well, and like how they kind of like played. I love Kylo Ren had his shirt off, like when he was going through the sequel trilogy and everything. And
like comes back and he's like, "I'm back, baby!
I'm back, baby!"
Which,
I loved all of that.
I know he's like been voicing him for a while, but whoever the guy is that does the Emperor in like the Lego animation projects is so
he the
fucking
Joker
funny.
in Lego Batman? Do you know? It sounds similar.
Double check.
But yeah, and I like the part where he was just like, "Oh yeah, and there's Rey, who's kind of a Skywalker." like that was great too.
It was really cool, and super fun. Like I think that I love Star Wars parodies because there's so much to poke fun at, and but like they poke fun at it because it comes from a place of love, and I think that that's also kind of what we do here, like at Annie, Are You Okay? Like that's like
a Star Wars
literally
podcast.
The point. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that like was a fun way to start everything off. But that being said, is there anything you would have like preferred they did differently? I think that they did a really good job of like leaning into some things that were changed, and other stuff felt like it was like maybe left on the cutting room floor. Some characters I was surprised like didn't pop up. But I guess when you're telling like a new narrative and introducing so many different characters, it's kind of hard. But I just felt like it was like reference after reference after reference, so it was weird not to see like certain things in there.
So just in like a nostalgia aspect of like the lore within the story.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say for me, I'm gonna say not really, just because I went into this not looking at it as a Star Wars show with Lego characters. I looked at it as like a Lego thing about Star Wars. So like the absence of like major Star Wars things wasn't like how can you do a Star Wars show and not include that? Because it's like with Lego Batman, which is an amazing movie, I don't put that in like the Batman movie lineup,
right?
like
it's movie first and a Batman.
Yeah, so I came into the show looking at it as a Lego TV show, a Star Wars themed Lego TV show, as opposed to a Lego themed Star Wars show. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
My man. So, but I feel as if there's some things that you were surprised were omitted based off your question.
It's not so much things that were like omitted as much as I was like, if the Emperor is not the Emperor, then how does Rey come about, right? So I'm just
okay. So plot holes. Gotcha.
some plot holes. I was like, okay, they figured out a lot of other things. They very much smashed the timeline together too, which I don't hate, by the way. Like that's not something that I. But it was kind of like it almost felt like they were like, we established some rules, and now, but there are some things that have no rules, and I was like, okay. I think that there's part of me that just wants to compartmentalize some of these things, and I really need to just let it go. It's a kid show, like relax. That being said, I still very much enjoyed.
Okay, so then I do have just one, I won't even call it a gripe, but one thing that I did notice, with the under the logic that the corner piece flipped everything, like it like reversed everything, I was a bit confused. And again, I haven't seen the end, so I could be, missing something. I was a bit confused as to how Luke and Leia were still on the good side. Because it's like, if all things are equal and we flipped everything, they should be bad as well. Or at least, if not Luke, then definitely Leia. Because like Luke was like, Switzerland, wanted to be a starfighter for an Imperial starfighter. So I was like, okay, I can get that. But like Leia was like the leader of the rebellion in the original timeline, so she should definitely be on the other side.
I wonder if maybe like if they continue to do stuff with this, right? If there's something there that they.
And I know that bled into episode 3, so my bad. But
I do wonder if there's like certain things there where, if they decide to keep this going, if there's like maybe like canon moments like in the Into the Spider-Verse where it's like, well, some like
Nexus points,
right? Like things like that. That'll be interesting.
I could see. Disney being Disney and interjecting their like similar beats across all things. Like, if I had to, weirdly, I feel like a case could be made for Leia being like the Nexus being of like the Star Wars universe. Like I know like the low hanging fruit would be like Luke or Vader, but you know, like Vader isn't in the sequel trilogies, and Luke is involved in a film. But like Leia kind of is a big through line through a lot of Star Wars. Yeah, like especially like with, you know, Kylo Ren being her son, and he was a big part of the reason why, you know, the Republic fell again. So it's like I could, like, a case would be, you know what, I would say she's, in my opinion, she would be the Nexus being.
She's the anchor being for you.
Yeah, she's the anchor being of the Star Wars universe for sure. But that was one thing that I will say through me, that I did love other flip flops, like switches of allegiance. I loved a lot. Like I was just like, oh shit, and so a lot of them. We will get. Yeah, I know. I know. I don't spoil it, but again, just that Leia still being the rebel leader was confusing if the stories were supposed
at first
to.
for sure. Yeah. So I'll move on to the next question here, and it's just like it's stepping away a little bit from, you know, some of the flip floppy nature of things. How do you feel about the concept of like Force builders and Sith destroyers or breakers?
I like that a lot.
In the Lego universe, it feels very much like a extension of the lore, right? Like you take this thing and now it's in the Lego universe, so there's something bigger and grander about it being Lego. And it also plays very much into the creativity of Lego itself and how like things are different. Like what to you did it feel like it added an extra layer of things that were like maybe made stuff feel more important, or is it something where it's like, oh, this is like a fun mechanic that they're doing because it's Lego?
No, I took it as additional lore to add to the, you know, the gravitas of the story. Cause I thought that when JB, I don't do initials, like, but JB, when Jedi Bob was like describing, you know, like the builders and the breakers and everything, I thought that was awesome, because like they could have. I feel like it helped establish this. I feel like it helped give this show its own identity, because like the use of the Force could have easily just been the explanation for building and breaking the Legos down. It could have just been that.
Right.
It could have just been Gaten's character can just use the Force, and that's why he's able to like do shit. But like even at the very beginning, where the two brothers are speaking, Dev is like, he's like, you can use the Force, and he was just like, it's kind of like the Force, but all I can really do is just build things. So I thought that was cool that they created like a very Lego specific type of Force ability. And Bob, even like when he was doing his monologue, even saying like, oh, like there was a special type of Force users in my world. I thought that was really cool. Because, like, again, they could have just had people just be able to use the Force, and that would have still made the story play out the way that it played out. But this made it feel special.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it is special. And when I get to the Easter eggs, we'll talk about that a little more. But while we're on this topic, I think it'd be good to also kind of like... So there's a great action sequence when they are escaping from Dev. I think it's the beginning of episode 2.
Darth and was it the Devastator? He was like Darth Dev. He's like, huh? He's like, it's short for Devastator.
Yeah, Jedi Bob builds them a ship. I think it's like the one from Andor that the like space police use or whatever. Like,
and it had like I like that it had like the pod racing tentacles.
Well, yeah, okay. So like as they're escaping, they have to use parts from other things, and then he creates the pod racer version of it, and then it turns into a walker version of it, and then eventually becomes a quad jumper version of it. If you could imagine your own mix match creation, what would you do?
Have it easy. Funnily enough, because I was gonna bring up to you, and we can bleep this out if we do it, so we don't like hedge our bets. I was gonna do another fun episode that we could do is like our top 10 or 5 like favorite vehicles in Star Wars. I think that'd be a fun episode to do. So if I were to do something, so I've said this before, either to you privately or publicly on this podcast, I have a special place in my heart for the A-Wing. I don't know why. That's like literally my favorite ship in all of Star Wars. I think it's just so small and fast, and because you know what it was, I don't remember what the name of the game was on GameCube. For some reason, it might have been called Rogue. Yeah, I was just about to say it might have been called Rogue Squadron. But I used to love using the A-Wing and just like just zipping around and just fucking TIE fighters up. So if I could make my own thing, I would make it an A-Wing, but it would have like the X-Wing wings, because like there's such an iconic like the X-wing is such an iconic looking thing in like Star Wars lore. So yeah, it'd be like A-wing with X-wing blaster wings to make the X.
Yeah,
so
that's
an Axe-wing.
An Axe-wing. I feel it. Did you see that Darth Dev's thing was like a TIE Interceptor mixed with an A-wing?
You know what it looked like to me? It looked like the Buzz droids off of Episode 3 when they were attacking that Rey ship. Yeah, remember when Rey came down and her ship like turned backwards and it had like the red eyes and it landed when they pulled up to the cantina. So when they were escaping and before they had locked Rey up in like that case in the
right.
Like when she had and her ship had like flown in and landed down. It looked like the Buzz droids from Episode 3 at the beginning of Episode 3 where he's like, get him R2 and he's like, go for the center eye. It reminded me of those things. But yeah, again, Lego ships are like the thing. But yeah, all these ships were awesome. It's always awesome to see new vehicles in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's always for sure. Like it's definitely something that like love that they express the creativity. They even like released a Lego set like with this that is like a TIE fighter and an X-wing that you can easily take apart and put like the wings on the different cockpit, which I think is awesome that they.
That's the black Millennium Falcon.
Oh yeah, that John
fire.
Is cool too. Yeah, very cool, very cool. I like that one's not like something smashed together. It's just like an evil version of an iconic ship.
That was dope. Or 3PO's like golden
Naboo like fighter. Yeah. No, I enjoyed that as well. There's like, man, I was trying to think of something. I don't know. I'd have to think about it for a little while about like what I'd really want to mash together.
Not you asking me and you weren't ready to answer.
I know, right? Like, oh, what am I doing here? I should have had my answer locked and loaded. I think it'd be cool to do something with the snow speeder, but I just have to think of like what exactly I want on it.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe take like the engines of the Razor Crest and just supercharge that thing and put it on the snow speeder. Like make it look absolutely ridiculous. Be pretty fast though. So moving on to more mixed matched things. Mos Eisley Marina, very fun opposite take on
Tatooine being a water planet is fucking hilarious.
Well, especially because of the lore of it like being a water planet,
right.
Right. So are there any locations that come to mind that you're like would really like to see swapped? Because I think that there's like
Hoth is a summer planet. Would be
right.
funny.
Well, so they did kind of like show that briefly, right? It's like Hoth being hot.
I did see that. Yeah,
right. Like and there's like rebel walkers,
or like the salt planet from Last Jedi, when he's like,
pepper. Yo,
pepper.
That to me, maybe the best joke in all 4 episodes. Like,
dog, I belly laughed at that. Like, it's a
so
deep
good.
gut laugh.
Yeah, that was so
pepper.
good. But is there anything that comes to mind for you for that one that you like feel like, oh, I'd really like to see this reversed or something like that?
Like a deforest Kashyyyk. Deforestation on the a Kashyyyk that looks like Coruscant.
Could you imagine like all the Wookiees are just like in like suits and ties and it's like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like a Coruscant looking Kashyyyk, or like the rusted part of Coruscant not rusted.
I'm now thinking like let's make Camino a desert planet instead.
Oh. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Those things are actually like super tall, and you can only get to them by like either like a lift or of large sand dunes.
Obi-Wan's like spitting out saying, "I'm tracking up bounty hunter, go Jacob Fett."
Oh my god, I love that! That's so good. That's amazing. I love that idea.
That'd be funny.
In the middle of a sandstorm. That was so good. All right, and my final question before we like dive into some Easter eggs. All of the Sith characters were fun. But there's clearly like whose transition from like light to dark or dark to light was your favorite out of everyone in the first 2 episodes? Because we get a lot.
Maul is Lando.
Like,
Maul is Lando outfit. I I loved all of that. Oh, and he was like, "Ooh, Jesse, you're safe." He's like, He said, "I called the rebels like you asked." And then when I came around, you were gone.
And the fact that it's still Sam Witwer is just like fantastic.
Yo, yeah, that was great. And even him just having like the Lando fit with his chest out, like everything was I thought that was great. And then obviously Darth Jar Jar. That was gonna be mine. Like that to me was a really good one. I also they had Nubs, who is from like the children's show, like Galaxy of Adventures. He's like the blue Ewok looking guy, voiced by D. Bradley Baker, who does all the clones and stuff. But he's like very much like a squeaky, like teddy bear like looking. I like Jabba. Jabba being a Jedi, I thought was really.
Oh man,
cool.
You're skipping ahead.
That was 3.
That was 3.
Shit, my bad. Ignore what I just said.
I would imagine that if they're listening to this, they probably watched all 4. But we're trying to keep it light here, man. We're trying to keep it light.
Throwing a little spoiler sounding like before, like a bomb.
I did at the beginning of the episode.
I mean, like in that part, like spoiler. But
that's why we always put it in there, just in case.
Maul's transition for me was that. I will say. It was such an easy thing, but I will say Rey Palpatine showing up did catch me off guard because we only see her in that mode for like literally a split second in Rise of the Skywalker, and that's one of those things where it's just like it just makes so much sense for her to be there, but it's not even something that was like on my radar as something that they would have done. So I thought that was like, oh, that was very clever to like have her in that with her weird unfunctional saber that like it's just so dumb until it breaks down into the number. It was like when it's just like the shape of
they did that either. Like Punk Girls are like that. So are the Temple Guards actually.
Yeah, like when it's in the shape of a U before it extends down, like that's not functional like that at all. like where do you sheath that at? Like how do you
just
holster
put it on a
that?
hinge and then you clip it.
I guess. I guess.
So I have Easter eggs. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the first 2 episodes before I move on?
No, I think we're sure. Can I give you one Easter egg that like really I liked a lot? Because just in case you already have it on there, I loved how Luke's necklace was Padme's little carving.
Did your poor snippet? You know what, Matt? It did not make it onto my list, but a great call out and interesting. We'll be interested to see if that plays a role. If they continue the series,
I was just like, that was like a warming heart moment for me that he had that necklace. I was like,
it very much fit this like surfer aesthetic that he was going for as well. So at the beginning, the Disney we're gonna do the Easter eggs. I don't have a sounder for that. We just do it. The Disney Star Wars intro.
What sounds do rabbits make? Be the sounder for Easter eggs.
The Disney Star Wars intro has good characters in red and bad characters in blue, hinting at the change when the galaxy's rebuilt. That was an easy fix for them to do, but it was still, a nice nod. They've been doing it the other way around for a lot of the other shows, and I think attempting to trick us with it as well, because there was a few episodes of Ahsoka where they had like the Night Owl Sabine Wren Mando helmet in red, and I was like, oh, is she turning? Another Easter egg, Sig tells the story wrong about the rebels teaming up with the Wookiees at the Battle of Endor, but that was actually the original plan. So even though it's like he messes up and then he's like, oh no wait, it was Ewoks, that was originally in the first script for Return of the Jedi, is that Endor was going to be the home of the Wookiees, and the Wookiees were going to be fighting.
That would have been
which eventually went on to inspire, obviously, the Battle of Kashyyyk in Revenge of the Sith. So
that would have been an extremely lopsided fight if it was just a planet full of Wookiees that were ready to ride out.
For sure. I did think it was a nice callback, a very deep. I think that's a deep cut Easter egg.
I didn't know that. You just told me something. No.
This is the first time we see Nerfs in an on-screen appearance, albeit in Lego form. So yeah, we talked about that earlier, but it was cool to see Nerfs for once. The modal nodes only having one good song is because we only know one of their songs, being the famous Cantina music from A New Hope. So that was a funny joke. And then Jedi Bob is the classic Lego yellow because there used to not be skin tones for Lego characters until the first Lando Calrissian minifigure was made in 2003.
I didn't even really pick up on that he's yellow and nobody else is. Yeah, that's solid. I like it. That's
so
clever.
It's clever, but then also to just find out that Lando Calrissian was the first like black minifigure ever made was also kind of fun for me to discover as I was kind of like doing a little
as
bit of
if Lando Calrissian wasn't and Billy D. Williams if they weren't cool enough, like as if those guys weren't just the coolest motherfuckers on earth. It's just like
they changed Lego culture forever.
Yeah, bro. Like, shout out to Billy D. Williams, great guy. I don't know him
Darth
personally.
Jar Jar.
I just assume.
Darth Jar Jar is a reference to a Reddit theory, come to Lego life, where Jar Jar was actually the mastermind behind the Sith's rise to power. That is a super fun one. Definitely, we should do a whole episode about just that theory in general. It's
technically it is his fault.
It is his fault, but
he did grant emergency power to the Chancellor.
So if it was ultimately Jar Jar that was the Sith Lord, there's lots of evidence that goes into it. It'd be fun to discuss, so we'll maybe cover that on a future episode of Ain't Are You Okay? A Star Wars
podcast.
Thank you, Matt. And before we close this thing out, just want to let you know that you can leave us reviews, and if you're the person who keeps disliking us on YouTube, go ahead. My haters fuel my drive.
Haters become motivators.
That's right. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the letters ANI Are You Okay Pod. That is ANI Are You Okay Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can follow our sister podcast where Matt and our good friend Travis talk about all things Dragon Ball and anime on the Dragon Ball for Life podcast. You can follow them on Instagram and Twitter at DB4L_pod. They're doing all sorts of different anime and manga content over there, including reviews of Knights of Abyss, which is a crowd-funded, first fan-funded manga to anime that has already
manifesting in anime.
Yeah, it's already backed over $100,000 worth, and it's about obviously. Not obviously. If you go look into it, it's about black representation in anime, and there's a lot of black anime fans. Kind of lines up with our mission statement over there, Matt. Would you say so?
1000%. Shout out to Quentin Dorsey. Shout out to him. He is putting into practice what we are preaching. That was a bar over at DB4L. So we're super excited
to see it. You'll love to see it. Absolutely. Matt, why don't you close this bad boy out before actually you do that? We'll be back next week covering episodes 3 and 4 of LEGO Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, and we have some other fun stuff lined up for you as well. So
lots of fun stuff.
And close this one, buddy.
All right, in honor of our hater who keeps disliking us because they hate us because they ain't us. It could be Dave Skylark. It could be Mandark. It could be LARPing in the park, or it could be Dark Ray. Life can be a beach, but as long as there's no sand, you guessed it, ain't he gonna be okay.
Dave, do you think people think margaritas are gay because they are so sweet?
Oh my God, Dave Skylark.
Be okay.
Bow. I'm waiting.
May the force be with you, man.
And with you. Later, nerds.
Deuces.
And we are clear.
I'm leaving that in there.
No, please do.